Snow fell quietly outside the wide glass windows, each flake a tiny scrap from an unsent letter. The three-story timber house on the outskirts of Seattle, owned by Alexander Whitmore, stood motionless in the night, not a single porch light on. No sound of cars, no scurrying staff, no ringing phones. Only the wind threading through the pines and the soft patter of snow on the shingles. Alex stepped out of the black Tesla and told the driver, "Wait at the gate. I'll walk." He turned up the collar of his cashmere coat. His polished leather shoes sank slightly into the thin snow. The path to the house felt longer than memory, perhaps, because he had never walked it before. The iron gate stood ajar, unguarded. He pushed it open and stepped through. He had bought this house 8 years ago, the week his tech company went public. An investment, a trophy. Tonight, for the first time, he circled it as though it might truly belong to him. The main hall was dark, lit only by the amber glow spilling from the living room fireplace. Alex peeled off his gloves and laid them on the oak console. A child's pink puffer jacket hung crooked on a peg, one sleeve inside out, as if yanked off in a hurry. Beneath it, tiny rubber boots caked with dried mud from the back garden. He climbed the stairs. A plastic dump truck lay abandoned mid-step. Its wheels still spun when his shoe nudged it. On the wall, a watercolor was taped up with clear tape, a boxy house, 2 stick figures holding hands, and a wobbly crayon message, "Daddy, come home soon." Alex stopped. Something squeezed his chest. The living room flickered with firelight. A piano played softly, Clair de Lune, the same record his mother used to spin on an old turntable. When the final note faded, a new voice rose, warm, lightly Irish, and the little bird shivered in the snow. It thought it would freeze. Then far off, a shepherd girl appeared. She had no magic, no gold, only a red wool scarf. Alex stood in the doorway, fingers tight on the frame. Before the hearth, on a white sheepskin rug, 2 children sat close beneath a thick wool blanket. Lila, 7, blonde pigtails, lopsided, clutched a threadbare stuffed sparrow. Noah, 5, drowned in one of Alex's old college sweaters, wore bunny ears folded from newspaper. In his fist was a magic wand, a dry twig wrapped in foil salvaged from a Christmas biscuit tin. Beside them sat Margaret O'Connell, Maggie, the nanny who had stayed with the family for 5 years. She wore a cream turtleneck, brown hair, tied low legs crossed on the rug. On the low table, 2 mugs of cocoa, still steaming a plate of star-shaped gingerbread, the air sweet with cinnamon and orange peel. Lila whispered, "Eyes round will the bird find its mother." Maggie smiled, smoothing the girl's hair, "It will." The shepherd girl used her red scarf as a beacon. The bird saw the color against the white, and knew home is that way. Noah thrust his wand skyward. "I'll open the forest door." Hocus pocus. Maggie laughed softly and drew him closer. "The strongest magic isn't in the wand, Noah. It's here." She laid a hand over his heart. Alex stood behind the half-open door, afraid to breathe. He remembered Noah's last birthday. He had couriered a 3,000-piece technical Lego set from Tokyo with a note, "Daddy's in meetings. Build it yourself. Love you." The box remained sealed in Noah's room. He remembered Lila's fever. He had FaceTimed from London, asked a few questions, then returned to conference calls. Lila had asked, "When will you read me a bedtime story?" He had answered, "This weekend," then flew to Shanghai. Now he watched them giggle as Maggie croaked like a raven, watched Lila hug her stuffed bird as if it held the whole world, watched Noah brandish his foil wand as though he could rewrite winter itself. No iPad, no Maldives trip, no limited edition Swiss watch, only a blanket, a story, and a woman who could turn newspaper into bunny ears. The tale ended. Maggie closed the hardback, set it on the table. She looked at the children as if she too believed in magic. Bedtime little nights. Lila yawned, but the bird hasn't reached home yet. Maggie whispered, "It will. When you dream, it will fly there." Alex stepped into the light. Lila spun around. Her eyes lit like twin stars. "Daddy!" She flung off the blanket, ran barefoot across the rug, and threw her arms around his neck. Noah charged after her, crashed into his legs, and laughed. "Daddy's the snow knight, come to save the bird." Alex knelt, gathering both children. Warm milk, gingerbread, damp wool scents he had never bothered to name. Maggie rose and stepped back. She smiled without a word. Her eyes said, "This is what you missed." They sat by the fire. Alex continued the sparrow's story, voice trembling. And when the little bird reached the nest, its mother held it tight. She said, "You don't need to fly far to find home. Home is wherever someone is waiting." Lila fell asleep on his left shoulder, still clutching the stuffed bird. Noah sprawled across his lap, the foil wand slipping to the rug. Maggie stood, quietly poured a fresh mug of cocoa for Alex this time, and set it on the table. "I'll leave the children's door ajar. Call if you need me." Alex nodded. He had never thanked her properly. Now he whispered, "Thank you." Maggie gave a small nod and closed the living room door. Snow kept falling that night. Alex powered off his phone, hung his coat on the peg beside Lila's pink jacket. He set his polished shoes next to Noah's muddy boots. He carried Lila to her room, tucked her in. She murmured in her sleep, "The bird came home." In Noah's room, he found the sealed Lego box, returned it to the shelf. In its place, he laid the foil wand on the nightstand. Down in the kitchen, Maggie was washing mugs. Alex leaned in the doorway. "Tomorrow, I'm not going anywhere." Maggie turned to drying her hands on her apron. "Good. Because tomorrow the kids plan to bake snowman cookies. They need someone to shape the heads." Alex smiled, the first real smile in months. Morning came. The snow had stopped. Alex wore an old sweater and sat on the kitchen floor shaping cookie dough with the children. Flour dusted his fingers. Lila shrieked with laughter when his snowman's head listed sideways. Noah pressed M&M eyes into the dough and declared, "Strongest snow night ever." Maggie stood in the doorway, tray of cocoa in hand, watching the three of them. A family is not a place you earn money to build. A family is a place you return to be rebuilt. That night, Alex sat by the fire, Lila asleep on his left shoulder, Noah on his right. Maggie sat opposite, beginning a new story. Outside, snow fell again. Inside the house was no longer cold. For the first time in 15 years, Alexander Whitmore was truly home.